Crucially though, all these sounds in the dubsteps, the EDM, etc. are electronic. Greetings, people of the YouTube, it's Multiplier here for what you may call a thought of the day. You can remember this next time you're producing, and it's as follows. So, why do you probably do too much EQ and compression when you're making music? It's because of the olden days. Right, so when I say the olden days, I'm talking about back when, to make a song, what you'd have to do is, first of all, get some friends, and then you'd have to learn how to play an instrument. That's so much effort, but people did it. You'd get some friends, learn how to play an instrument, dingly, 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 boom, 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 on the bands and stuff. You would record real life things. Now, if you take a recording of real life, it could be a drummer, vocalist, guitarist, anything like that. If you want it to sound as good as possible, you have to do some processing, because as you record a guitar or a vocalist or a drum or whatever, that recording is just not going to be doing what you want it to do. Maybe there's a bit of spill from that other drum kit, so you have to use a gate. Maybe the microphone and stuff just doesn't sound right, so you need to do some EQ. Maybe dynamically the vocal's not flat enough, because vocals are quite dynamic in real life, so you have to do all these bits of processing. That's why stuff like EQs, compressors, gates, transient shapers, all that sort of stuff exists. It's to take real life recordings and make them sound better. However, most of you make the dubsteps and electro and trap and all sorts of other EDM sort of things, and in that sort of situation you've got something totally different. You don't take a real life recording of a dubstep. What you do is you either make the sound yourself, or you use a sample and or maybe a preset. Crucially though, all these sounds in the dubsteps, the EDM, etc. are electronic. Therefore, you just don't need to use EQs, compressors, transient shapers, stereo imagers, all that sort of stuff anywhere near as much as people mixing bands and real life recordings. For example, let's say you're using kick drums. Kick drums from sample packs, if you're using good kick drum samples, need exactly no processing. But Multiplier, I just spent £400 on a compressor and the website I bought it from said it would sound a million times better, therefore I should use it, right? Incorrect. That's only if you're using real life drums. Most of these fancy compressors, EQs, all those transient shapers, all those sort of things are designed to take real life recordings and make them better. Yes, you can use them on electronic sounds to shape them and make them better, but it's difficult and most of the time not needed. Example number 2, let's say you have a sub bass for your dubstep track. So you have the sub bass component, and then as a separate layer you have all the higher harmonics. If you have that sub bass component, you simply don't need to do any EQ on it, because you can just design the perfect sine wave in the first place. You don't need to take a sine wave and then apply a low pass filter to cut out the highs, because there are no highs there anyway. Remember, you just designed the most perfect sine wave ever, so you don't need to do any more processing. No compression either, because remember, if you want your, let's say for example, you want your sub bass to go, so it has a bit of a tack on it, you might say. Instead of taking a sine wave and then running it through a compressor, what you can do is just design the sine wave to have that attack envelope you want in the synthesizer. Much cleaner, wowzers trousers, wouldn't that be a million times better? Yes, it would. Let's say you're making a sandwich. Now this is an analogy. I'm going to finish off the video with an analogy about a sandwich, but that's perfectly cool. You have to translate what I say about a sandwich into music production and what I've been talking about. So let's say you're making a sandwich. The best way to do it is to get the bread, place it on the surface, place it where you want it, then you get the butter out, then you put it on the sandwich, on the right side of the sandwich, and then you make the sandwich. What you don't want to do is get the bread, just throw it onto the counter, it goes off into the distance, you need to move it back, then you get some butter and just go kapow, throw it on there, and then you need to like fix it because you only got half of it, so then you've got some on the counter, you have to put it back on there. You don't want to do any of that, you just want to get the sandwich right in the first place. Don't be chaotic, don't just throw things about and fix it later. Just do it right in the first place, and the same thing applies with sandwiches and music production. What you want to do is spend that little bit more time either designing the sound perfectly in the first place, or spend that little bit of extra time choosing the right sound, so you don't need to do any EQ, compression, manipulation later, because the sounds already do exactly what you want them to do. How cool is that? Very cool, I would say. Very cool, I would say. And that's been thought of the day. That rhymed with Multiplier. He doesn't compress unnecessarily, so neither should you.